What's up, guys? Welcome back into the Ballroom Podcast. This is episode 9. I'm your host, Rohan and Arav, and as always, I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Arav Bagwadi. Arav, what's going on?
I'm good, Rohan. We had some amazing game threes in the second round, including a return of Master Embiid and a crazy end to the Bucks game, the Bucks and Celtics game. So let's get straight into it. I'm super excited.
Let's do it. Let's start with the Heat Sixers game. The Sixers won this game 99-79. And now the Heat still lead the series 2-1, but Sixers get a huge game at home to avoid going down 3-0. And for the Sixers, Joel Embiid returned from his concussion and orbital fracture to the face. And he came back with 18 points and 11 boards. And he wasn't quite his MVP self, but still his presence alone in this game was just huge for them. What it really did is it opened up the game for the rest of his teammates on offense. Like Danny Green, popped off in this game. He had 21 points, had 7 threes, shot 7 of 9 from 3. Maxey had 21 points on 5 of 6 from 3. And as a team, they shot amazing from 3. They made 16 threes on 48.5% shooting from 3. And they also shot 48% from the field. So they had a great offensive shooting night with Embiid back. And also, as important as his offense was to their team, his defensive presence for this team was also massive. He provided the Sixers with a lot of rim protection and interior defense, which Philly really didn't have in games 1 and 2, where they were playing Paul Reed and DeAndre Jordan at center. So, I mean, that was a big reason that the Sixers were able to hold the Heat to just 79 points in this game, which we really don't see in this day and age, especially with the amount of offense that's produced by these teams and the three-point shooting. But only 28 points in the paint as well, and that's obviously in large part due to Joel Embiid's just presence and his ability to just rim protect and sort of be that defensive anchor for the Sixers.
Yeah, definitely. And going back to that point where the Sixers shot 48.5% from the 3-point line, that's a massive step up from games 1 and 2, where they shot 17% in game 1 and 23 or 24% in game 2. So massive step up, which is a part of the big reason why they won this game. James Harden also was big as well. Not a massive stat line, but he had 17 points, 8 assists, and 6 rebounds, but had great playmaking and just getting everyone involved offensively. Had the highest plus minus on the team in the game. He had a plus 27 plus minus. So as we talked about in the previous episodes about Harden needing to step it up, I feel like he did. Although he didn't really score as much, his playmaking was just sublime and really was a huge driving factor to the reason why the Sixers won this game. And Embiid and Harden, with both these guys playing together, this team is definitely they're back to their championship contending selves. A completely different team than we saw in games 1 and 2, and they're a legit threat. They can definitely work their way back into the series, and obviously winning this game gives them a great chance. They're in a great position to tie up the series at 2-2. Playing game 4 in Philly again at home. That crowd is electric, and Joel Embiid obviously will do whatever he can to get his team in it, get the crowd in it.
Yeah. Even with Embiid not playing at his MVP self, like I said before, if he can get back to scoring 30 for them and 10 boards,
exactly.
That's going to be huge for them. But even without him scoring, the production that they got from Danny Green and Tyrese Maxey, Danny Green just was a huge reason why they were able to pull out this game. Those 21 points were huge for them, especially with Embiid not being able to score. So just things that. If the the production from their role players can keep it up, and once Embiid starts to look more like himself, this team it's going to be pretty scary going forward.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, Embiid, he didn't play at his MVP self, obviously, just because he was just coming back from his concussion and face orbital injury, fracture. But just having his presence is just key for the Sixers, kind of similar to Steph Curry. If he's not playing well, just him on the floor, using him as a decoy is just it definitely helps the team win. And
Exactly.
then also, what do you think about that tire? I remind you, he's doing this all at 21. His full court hustle play where he like
Yeah.
ran out of bounds, threw the ball behind his head, saved the ball over to Harden, which ultimately ended in that Embiid fadeaway and one. That was insane. What do you think about that?
I mean, yeah, that's just Tyrese Maxey. His energy is what like brings his team like and moves them forward. It's definitely a huge spark for them. And those type of hustle plays are huge for a team, especially in a playoff game, because that can just swing the momentum, which it did for Philly. They had all the momentum going
For
forward
sure.
after that. Yeah, so just hustle plays in general are huge. But Tyrese Maxey, who's as you said, 21, he's fresh legged and he's just a bright spot for this team, and gives them a spark of life, which is huge for them.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And for the Heat, they're just like simply not going to win a game, like especially a playoff game when they only score 75 points, 79 points. Excuse me. When any team just scores 79 points, is way too little in an NBA game to win a game. That's simple as that. They shot
Exactly.
35% from the field, 23% from three, only hit 7 threes as a team. Like if playing like this, they didn't really have a chance.
No, no, they just didn't have any offense. They were stifled. Really, nobody could buy a three. I mean, they didn't have any offense outside of obviously Jimmy Butler, who had a huge game, 33 points on 55% shooting, to go along with 9 boards and 2 steals. I mean, he had a great game, but nobody else came along with for the ride. Tyler Hero had 14 points. Didn't have a great shooting night himself. Yeah, I mean, he only shot 2 of 7 from three, and nobody else scored in double digits for them. So when your offense isn't going and you can't even crack 80 points, like in this day and age, you're not going to be able to keep up with teams and let alone get the win.
Exactly, and also their other all one of their all stars, Bam Adebayo, was also non-existent in this game after huge games one and two, where he averaged 23.5 points. Only had 9 points in this one on 2 of 9 shooting,
Yeah,
and obviously Joel Embiid was probably a big factor for that reason.
exactly.
Um, he definitely had an impact on Bam Adebayo. His presence is just like much different than Paul Reed and DeAndre Jordan's presence because it's Joel Embiid,
Yeah,
MVP candidate, one of the best centers in the probably arguably the best center in the league, one of the best presences in the paint. Um, but like for the Heat, we don't expect they're one seed for a reason. We don't expect them to have this poor of a shooting game going forward. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, yeah, they should be able to bounce back for game four. And they're still in a great position in the series because they're up 2-1. This
yeah.
is just a road game loss. So, I mean, they still give themselves a good chance to go up 3-1. And if they're able to do that in game four and go back to Miami for game five, they'll have a good grasp on the series. But yeah, just scoring the ball is basically the main takeaway from this game. Like, if you can't score the ball, you won't be able to win games. So we don't expect the Heat to shoot this poorly again. And that's why we expect game four to be super competitive.
Yeah, definitely. Should we move on?
Let's do it.
Next we got the Suns and the Mavericks. The Mavericks won this game 103 to 94, but the Suns still lead the series 2-1. And I mean for the Mavericks, just similar, just like the Sixers, just a great job for them to come back and take game 3 at home after losing the first 2 games of the series. Um, and it's different from games 1 and 2. This one was an all-around team game for the Mavericks, an all-around awesome team win for them. Their whole team showed up to play instead of only Luka, which Jason Kidd was talking about a lot. Like the whole team needed to be present instead of just Luka Doncic. Jalen Brunson led the team in scoring. He had 28 points, 5 assists, and only 1 turnover. Luka Doncic, obviously, he's still gonna keep playing like Luka. 26 points, 13 rebounds, and 9 assists. Flirted with a triple double. Although he didn't shoot that efficiently, he shot 11 from 25. He made the right plays at the right times in order to help win the game. What do you think about that play where he fell, he like shot it or something and fell,
Oh,
got
yeah,
the
yeah,
rebound and passed it when he
yeah.
was sitting down and
I
dropped the
saw that.
dime.
That was nice. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that was just Lucas' vision. But I don't know how we even. Yeah, that was just it was a weird play altogether. I don't know why they passed the ball to him on the floor in the first place, but he
Mhm.
was able to set up for the dunk. So it was
Yeah.
a cool play for sure.
Yeah, definitely really cool. And also guys like Dorian Finney-Smith and Reggie Bullock hit huge shots for the Mavericks and just stepped up in general in game 3. Finney-Smith had 14 points, four threes, and also 3 steals. Um, Do you remember that he hit that deep three after that questionable Suns turnover that the Suns were like arguing about, and the Mavericks kind of knew something was up, so they just kept going and didn't
Hmm.
wasted no time, just passed it to Finney Smith for that deep three, and he hit it, which gave them all the momentum.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, that's basically the story of the game. Like the Mavs are just they just were pushing the ball, just playing fast and obviously getting good looks from three, and they shot the ball well. And but I think like the main takeaway from this game obviously is when Brunson's playing is an offensive threat and is scoring the
Mhm.
ball at a high level. Like it's so big for Luka because I think in games 1 and 2 we kind of saw how Luka kind of got gassed in the fourth quarter after having to do all the heavy lifting in the first 3 quarters. And so what Brunson scoring early does for Luka is it allows him to sort of ease into the game and not have to sort of do everything on offense. And then when it comes down to the winning time in the fourth quarter, it allows Luka to just take over, which he always does in the fourth quarter. It seems like so he's clutch, and that's what having that second score next to Luka allows Luka to do in the fourth. Just unlocks him in the at the end of games and allows the Mavericks to close the games well.
Yeah, definitely. And Reggie Bullock was also big. He had 15 points and four threes as well, just like Finney
Mhm.
Smith, and three steals. He was big on both offense and defense. He was, especially on defense, he was shadowing Chris Paul like the whole game, forcing some turnovers out of him. And then Maxi Kleber showed up big time, similar to game one. Shot 6 and 9 from the field, had 14 points and three blocks as well. I think just in general for this game, the Mavs just showed a different intensity and energy than in games 1 and 2, and seemed more hungry. Partly probably because of the Dallas crowd that gave them some ignition. Um, and that definitely lifted them. They turned up the defensive pressure, stepped into passing lanes. Like I said, shadowed Chris Paul everywhere
Mhm.
and moved the ball really well. They had 25 assists.
Yeah. Mavs were, I mean, they were stifling on defense, especially on Chris Paul. I mean, they were just face guarding him, and Chris Paul was just coughing the ball up. Ended up with 7 turnovers in the first half. Like
Mhm.
they were just clamping him. They were all up in his grill, and they were just trying to make him uncomfortable. Which is kind of what you have to do with Chris Paul, because otherwise he's just gonna do
Exactly.
what he does, control the game on offense, and just get everyone involved and sort of get to a spot. So I think they executed perfectly on defense. And obviously on offense as well. They got a great scoring, but for the Suns, like they really just this was a probably one of their worst games of the playoffs and maybe of the season.
Yeah.
They just didn't get like much scoring from obviously CP3 and Booker. And they just didn't have the offensive power to sort of get through this game, largely because of the Mavs defense.
Mhm.
But so I don't expect a game um, where Jay Crowder is their leading scorer.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously this is just probably an off game for them, and they'll probably be back to what how they played earlier in this playoffs and early in this series for Game 4.
Yeah, and additionally to their low scoring, they also had just turned the ball over so much. They had 17 turnovers, 12 of them coming from Booker and Chris Paul, which is very uncharacteristic. Booker had 5 turnovers, CP3 had 7, like you said. Um, as and like you said, but also that this was like probably the Suns' worst playoff game or worst game of the season. This was actually their lowest scoring game of the season, so I feel like
Mhm.
it definitely was like their worst game of the season.
Yeah,
Definitely up there.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, Game 4 obviously huge for both teams. Suns will be able to go up 3-1 and close it out in Phoenix in Game 5. And for the Mavs, this feels like a must win for them in Game 4 because going down 3-1 and having to win 3 games in a row to come back in this series is a tall task. So if they can win this game in Game 4, like they're definitely in the series, and it's really up for
For sure.
grabs.
For sure. It's definitely up for grabs. Both teams have a really good shot, but
Exactly.
we both don't imagine the Suns shooting and scoring like this again and
Yeah.
turning the ball over again this
Yeah.
much. So
Exactly.
definitely just for the Mavericks, expect a different Suns team and a much better and intense Suns team for game 4.
For sure. All right, should we move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's look at the Celtics Bucks game. The Bucks won this one 103-101, and they now lead the series 2-1. And they just squeezed out the win in the final
Yeah.
minute after the
Definitely
Celtics go for it.
definitely the most exciting game of this round of the game
Yeah,
threes.
yeah, this one was a battle. The Celtics climbed back in this one in the fourth quarter after being down 13 minutes with 10 minutes left in this 13 points with 10 minutes left in this game. And then the Celtics then took the lead 199 with about 2 minutes left in the game. But then Giannis, just as he usually does, took over. He brought the game home with a huge bucket to put them up 1. And then the block on Jaylen Brown's layup, which then led to Jrue Holiday's layup to put them up 3 with 11 seconds left. And then obviously that play at the end with Marcus Smart, he was fouled on a rip through,
questionable,
which was called a non-shooting foul. But a lot of people thought that it was a shooting foul, so he would have got 3 free throws to tie the game up. And many people, including Ime Udoka and the Celtics, were very upset at that call and thought it should have been a shooting foul.
What did you think about it?
I mean, it was really close. I thought I could have gone either way. I would have, since it was kind of like a rip through foul, and I don't know, I don't think Marcus Smart was going to take that shot just because there was 6 seconds left. Obviously that the refs were inclined to call it a on the floor foul and not give him the 3 shots. I don't know. I thought it could have gone either way. What do you think?
I think when he got hacked, he was in the air and he legit looked like he was going to shoot it because he knew it was going to get fouled.
Yeah.
So he was in the air when they called the foul. So
yeah, I think that,
like you said,
I think
it gone either way.
So if there were maybe 2 seconds left on the clock,
I
think they would have called it a shooting foul.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think it was just situational, and it was revolving around the amount of time left on the clock. But yeah, the Bucks were able to close it out. And on Marcus Smart's intentional missed free throw, which created some crazy chaos because they had 3 tip-ins which missed, and then Al Horford's, which went in, happened to be a split second after the buzzer. So yeah, the Bucks just barely hung on after having a large lead, almost blowing a large lead in the fourth quarter. But this one was just an old school type of game, it felt like, and it was just a physical defensive battle all the way through. And there were just a bunch of physical plays. Jason Tatum went down after that dunk on Giannis, and he looked like he hurt his wrist. And then Robert Williams went to the locker room after being elbowed in the face by Bobby Portis in the third quarter. So I mean, there's just a bunch of physical plays, and then obviously that was a large part due to their defense. Both teams' defense was amazing. Just a lot of high energy defensive plays, and the offenses were just both stifled. The Bucks only shot 40%. From the field, and the Celtics shot 36%. So definitely just a defensive battle, and it was a grueling but really exciting game.
Yeah, super exciting. Definitely my favorite game to watch. This in the game 3s, maybe apart from the Warriors game, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
But for the Bucks, obviously Giannis is just going to come out and play every game. He's just going to have a monster game every game. 42 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists. And on the defensive end, he had 2 steals and 2 blocks. He shot 53% from the field. Although he had a decent scoring game in game 2, he didn't shoot that efficiently. But this game, he had a huge bounce back. And he was dominant. Like I said, he was just dominant on both ends, especially down the stretch. And it was hard for the Celtics to stop him. Jrue Holiday, also huge, 25 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 steals. That's what they need. Without Chris Middleton, they need that type of scoring from someone. They need someone to step up without the absence of Middleton's 20 to 25, maybe even 30 every game.
Yeah. I also thought he had amazing lockdown defense, especially on Tatum, who only shot 4 of 19 from the field in this one. And that was, I thought, a large part due to Jrue Holiday's just playing Tatum perfectly, and just being in his grill and just being that defensive player that we know he is, one of the top defenders in the league. So him being a two-way threat is just so big for them, and that's why he's such a great player, especially as that second guy next to Giannis and pulling out these games against the Celtics. But also just as a team, I thought their perimeter defense stepped up in this game, and as we saw in the first 2 games, Bucks weren't really playing any defense on the 3. They were just letting the Celtics shoot whatever they wanted. And yeah, so they definitely adjusted from the first 2 games. They Celtics only shot 27% from 3 in this game, on 33 attempts, whereas they took 50 in game 1, and shot 36%, and they shot 43 in game 2 and shot 47%. So you can kind of see how that 3-point production is sort of declining as the games progress, and that's probably because the Bucks are sort of adjusting to the Celtics hot shooting.
Yeah, and for the Celtics, like you said before, mostly give credit to Drew Holiday. Jason Tatum he had an off game, shot 4 of 19, only 10 points. Drew Holiday, big reason for that. Um, and like when Jason Tatum is only scoring 10 points, it's definitely difficult for the Celtics to win because they just need a Tatum scoring boost, his shot making. It would have just given a huge boost in winning this game, especially down the stretch. Jaylen Brown was solid though. He had 27 points on 50% shooting, along with 12 rebounds. But I feel like even though Jaylen Brown had 27, it's the they need Jason Tatum in order to beat the Bucks, and when he's scoring 10 points, that's not going to cut it. Um, Al Horford was big for the Celtics as well. He had 22 points, 16 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks. But like as a team in general, just poor shooting, especially from three. Only shot 27%. But as you said, let's give full credit to the Bucks because their perimeter defense was just amazing, and that's a
Yeah,
huge reason why they only shot 27%. But this
yeah, for
whole
sure.
game was just a defensive battle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, both teams just played amazing defense. Like even the Bucks, they shot worse from three than the
Mhm.
Celtics did. They shot 26.5% from three. They went 9 of 34. So I mean, you could tell both teams were just the offense wasn't there, and it was just basically just who could score those few buckets down the stretch or get those few stops. Bucks did more of that. Celtics put themselves in a great position to win the game. They just came up short. So um, obviously, just the main takeaway is Tatum got to play better. And
Yeah,
they're so right there in the series. This game could have gone either way, and they put themselves in a position to win. They just fell short.
yeah, and it's 2-1. It's only 2-1 going game 4 in Milwaukee. Although it's in Milwaukee, this game was close. Boston could have easily won, so
Yeah,
they definitely could take game 4.
yeah,
But I feel like that's going to be a really good game as well, and I'm super excited to watch it. Um,
yeah,
and yeah,
yeah. It's gonna be a fun one. Even
yeah, for
even if the
sure.
Celtics don't win this game, like down 3-1 is obviously a big like
It's
it's obviously a
doable.
difficult
It's
thing, but
definitely
like
doable
they
though.
have two of the next 3 games after that at home. So
Mhm.
I mean anything's possible, and but the Celtics don't really want to go down 3-1 because that's a large hill to climb. But
Mhm.
we should expect a pretty physical game again, and a very exciting one as well.
Yeah, definitely. Should we move on to our final game?
Yeah, let's do it.
Finally, we got the Grizzlies at the Warriors. The Warriors won this one in a blowout, 142 to 112, and now they lead the series 2-1. Um, and for the Warriors, they had a 43-point turnaround. They were down 13 early on, and then ultimately won by 30. Um, a big reason why they went down 13 was just because Memphis, they couldn't miss a three. Their first
Oh,
6 field goals were threes. And then every team is just bound to cool off. They're not going to shoot
yeah,
like that the whole game. So
yeah,
um, I think that's kind of everyone expected the Grizzlies to cool off a little. But I mean, although there were many positives for the Warriors in this game, a negative that they had was probably just like they started the game with so many turnovers. I think they had 10 in the second half. I mean, first half.
yeah,
Um, and they settled down and limited the turnovers in the second half, but they just need to keep the turnovers limited the whole game if they because the Grizzlies aren't going to lose by they're not going to get blown out by 30
no,
again in this series. It's going to be close for sure. So they need to limit the
exactly.
turnovers. Um which but they did limit the turnovers in the second half like I said, which along with their amazing shooting it helped them prevail. Um and then they in the first quarter although they were down 13 they just went on a 25-6 run to end it and just didn't look back after that.
Yeah, exactly. And they got production from pretty much everyone in this game.
Mhm.
Steph with 30 points, shot 50% from the field, 14 of 14 from the free throw line. And Poole obviously was amazing as well. 27 points, 11 of 17 shooting, three threes. And he's just able to get to his spots, and also blow by the Grizzlies
Yeah,
defenders.
he was doing it
Um,
really easily.
Exactly. And same with
No,
Steph, right? He was
yeah,
looking for he wasn't just settling for threes. He was getting to the
exactly.
paint. That's why he got 14 free throw attempts. He was getting fouled, taking it to the paint. So Yeah, and
Exactly.
Clay was also massive.
Yeah, nobody was able to stay in front of Steph and Poole.
Yeah,
They were just easily able to blow by defenders, and I felt like their shot selection was way better in this game than in game two. I think Steve Kerr touched on that a little after game two. They didn't settle for like really contested threes. They tried to look for the right shot, even though if it was a two. They just tried to be more aggressive in the paint and just get the better look, try to get the best look as they could.
yeah. I think everyone was aggressive in this game, just off the rip.
Exactly.
Like Andrew Wiggins too. He played with like some great energy and intensity, getting to the rim. He had that nasty dunk, that
Yeah,
ambient dunk.
that coast to
Um,
coast. Yeah,
yeah, that was filthy. And then he had 17 points, shot 70% from the field, 2 steals. Like he was a perfect two-way player for them. He was just when he's aggressive, he's just such a good complementary piece to go along with the three guards. And he obviously on defense as well, like that defensive versatility, like to play Jaw. He started on Jaw this game, and he played him pretty well, I thought. So I mean, that's basically the player that the Warriors need him to be in when he's giving that effort and that energy on both ends of the ball. Like that's huge.
yeah. And talking about intensity and effort, Otto Porter's intensity effort was huge off the bench. Broke his shooting slump. He was in a big shooting slump in games one and two. Broke that.
Yeah.
He shot 5 of 7 from the field and 3 of 5 from three. Also had 2 blocks and 13 points
Mm-hmm.
for the game. And also a big reason why the Warriors were able to separate after half. They were only up 7 going into halftime, going in the locker room. A big reason why they were able to separate was because of Klay Thompson. He had a
Mm-hmm.
super hot start to the third quarter, including that one-legged three, which was sick.
Yeah, that was
It,
that was dope.
yeah, yeah, that was sick. I jumped off my chair when I saw that. I was
It
like,
was just
"Wha-"
so
I,
smooth. I was
I
like,
was like, what kind of shot are you taking? And he
yeah,
just
because it was like
drilled it.
6 seconds left on the shot clock, and he
Yeah.
just pulls that one leg.
Yeah, that ultimately led them to really separate from Memphis. And Clay finished with 21 points and shot 8 of 13 from the field,
Yeah.
which is very unlike how he played in games one and two, which is a good sign for them and for
Yeah, I
Clay.
mean, he's gonna always play like that. I think, like even if he's shooting poorly, like I feel like he would take that same
Oh, he's
shot,
he's gonna play the same. Yeah,
even if he
he
was like 2 for 11 in the game, he would have taken that one leg three.
he
That's
he
just the
won't stop
confidence he
shooting.
has.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
and that's
his
what you need
confidence
from
is
him.
through the roof. Exactly.
That's why we expect him to not be in a shooting slump for much longer, and he showed that in this game. He's gonna keep shooting, and eventually they're gonna fall because he's one of the best shooters ever.
For sure, exactly, and it's also hard to beat a team when the whole team shoots 61.1% from the field and 53.1% from three. Like you just and 90.5% from the free throw line. Like you just can't beat that. Like there's nothing you could really do
Yeah, yeah.
except
I mean,
maybe play
they're
better defense. But
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
still,
Yeah, they scored the ball so well in this game. I mean, to score 142 points in a playoff game seems
yeah,
unheard of. But I mean, the Warriors when they're clicking on all cylinders, everyone's getting involved and everyone's shooting the ball well. Like they're capable of doing this on any night.
and their ball movement was also unbelievable. They always found the right guy next to the basket or open for three. They had 34 assists, which is
Yeah,
insane. Um,
yeah.
I rem- when at the start of the game, although like the Grizzlies were just hitting three after three, including that Jaren like near half court
Oh
shot
yeah,
to beat the buzzer.
that was yeah.
They like the Warriors just didn't. The main reason why the Warriors didn't go away, and just didn't like weren't getting blown out like at the start of the game was because they were just fine. They were moving the ball really well and finding the right guy in the paint, and weren't settling for threes just to get back in the game.
For sure. Yeah, Warriors played great. But I think for the Grizzlies, obviously the big story and the big takeaway is John Morant's knee. Like we're
Yeah,
obviously all really
let's hope
concerned
he's
about
good.
that. Because we all want him as basketball fans to be in this series. It just makes it like 1,000 times more entertaining, and it gives the Grizzlies such a good chance in this series because they're like right there, they're neck and neck, and this series can really swing either way. But like even before he went out with his injury, like he was just amazing as he had been the first 2 games. 34 points, 4 of 7 from three, 7 assists, 3 steals, just doing everything for this Grizzlies squad. That half court shot at the end of
Yeah,
the
that
first
was
half.
crazy. I dropped everything. I was like, "What just happened? How do you do
Uh,
that?"
it was so clean too. It
It
just
was
like
just a
went straight
straight
in.
swish, straight swish.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like that was gonna be like a big like momentum
Momentum shifter.
booster
Yeah.
going into the half. because they were down 10 at that point and weren't really getting any offense going down the stretch. So yeah, that was going to be a huge momentum shifter, and they got off to a hot start, as you'd said before. They hit their first 6 field goals from 3. Jaren, yeah, like you said, like that half court shot was amazing. So I mean, they shot well. They obviously cooled down at the end, and they really didn't get much production outside of Ja. I mean, obviously Desmond Bane had a big bounce back game for them, 16 points, 4 of 7 from 3. Jared 15 points, and he didn't shoot very well, but he shot 4 of 8 from 3, but 4 of 13 on the game. But I think in general, like we know he's capable of much more. Same with Desmond Bane, like they're both capable of scoring 20 a game.
I mean, we saw Jaren in game 1, he had 33. So
yeah, exactly. So I mean, if they can do that for Ja, like that doesn't put as much of the load on Ja's shoulders, and they just couldn't keep up with the Warriors scoring in this game, which probably most teams couldn't when they score 142 points. And I think their defense needs to probably improve in terms of like, limiting sort of the open looks for the 3 guards, but also like in terms of keeping those 3 guards in front of them and not letting them drive into the paint. Because once you drive into the paint, or once one of them drives into the paint, there's 4 shooters on the perimeter, and it's really difficult to guard because you either commit to the paint or you have to spread out and guard the shooters. So that's why the perimeter defense is so huge against the Warriors.
And all of them finish so well also, so they can do anything when they're in the paint. One thing about Jaren is that he only had 3 rebounds, so I feel like he's 6'11". And like Kevon Looney, their like tallest guy on the floor, is 6'9", I think. So and he didn't even start the game. So he just needs to rebound way better. For a guy who's 6'11", the Warriors out rebounded the Grizzlies 38-29, and they've been doing that all series, which is really surprising. And I feel like everyone is definitely surprised by that. And like what is going on? The Grizzlies should be dominating the boards.
Yeah, but I feel like in the series, neither team is really playing like a traditional center. Like the Grizzlies aren't playing Steven Adams, although he was out games 1 and 2. He just came back for game 3, didn't really get much run. Only played a bit at the end, I think. But they're not playing. They're pretty much playing small. Like both of them don't have a traditional center, and I don't think Jaren is. He's a forward. He's not really a center. So he's kind of like on that same sort of position that Draymond plays, even though he's 4 inches taller than him. So, but I think, obviously, since he has that sort of height advantage, getting those rebounds is huge. And if he's able to box out, that's just giving his team more possessions. So if they're able to, get up on that rebound count, that's just, giving them more possessions and allowing them to, get more shots up and sort of ultimately score more at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. And also going into game 4, like in game 3, frustration just built up for Memphis. Kyle Anderson got ejected. Ja Morant was frustrated after his knee injury. Going into game 4, I feel like they just need it's definitely easier said than done, but just like cool down, keep composed, and like hopefully Ja is okay. So so that the whole team can bounce back in game 3. They did go 20-2 in the regular season without him.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign, but also not a good sign about because nobody wants Ja to be out. So hopefully he's all good to play in game 4. But we'll see how all his medical tests go and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, hopefully Ja can sort of gut through it, and hopefully he recovers quick enough so he's back in game 4. And because game 4 is going to be another exciting one. It's a 2-1 series, and really game 4 is pretty pivotal for both teams, just like it is for all the other 3 teams.
For every single team.
Every series.
Every series is 2-1.
Every series is 2-1. So, I mean, these game 4s are about to be wild. Hopefully there's a lot of close finishes, a lot of tight games, and we get some good basketball. But we got a lot of good ones in game 3 for sure.
Definitely, and a lot of good ones to come in game 4.
Exactly. All right, we'll look forward to wrapping those up for you guys after the game 4s happen. But that's pretty much does it for us wrapping up game 3s. And we hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.